So I now have the pleasure to welcome here Johan Terry. Johan is Senior Portfolio Manager of the Swisscanto Sustainable Equity Fund on the investment theme of circular economy. Johan, welcome to the Themenfonds Talk. Today we're discussing the circular economy, an investment theme that can fundamentally change the way we use our resources, and this is already on the way. So for instance, if I travel to Europe and wanted to buy shampoo, so in a few months or years I would hold a bottle made out of cardboard in my hands and not one made out of plastic. So why is that, and what does it have to do with the circular economy?
Thank you with that question. I think there was clearly a trend away from polluting packaging in the past few years, and this was driven by consumer behavior, which has changed, but also by regulation. And actually, we just had a new regulation in Europe, the PPWR, or Packaging and Packaging Waste regulation, just introduced, and that will support that type of cardboard packaging. And I think there is a direct link with the circular economy, because the circular economy is all about minimizing the amount of materials that we put in our consumption and production process. To simplify, I will characterize circular economy with the 4R principle: reduce, reuse, recycle, and replace.
And why is that concept interesting for investors, and what are the main growth drivers behind the circular economy?
So there are very long-term structural drivers which support the circular economy, and we expect it to grow by at least 2 times the global GDP. And the reason behind it is resource scarcity. I mean, clearly is a big driver, but also pollution and climate change. Everyone sees like this sea of plastics in the Pacific Ocean, but there's also economic independence, which is increasingly important, and the idea being to minimize our dependency on foreign export for critical materials. And all that is driving consumer behavior changes, but also new regulation.
So regulation is a driver, and how much will help now this PPWR regulation, this new regulation, the adoption of the circular economy?
And generally, regulation really depends on the countries and the subsegments of the circular economy. There are actually dozens of regulations just for recycling, for example. So we think this will be very positive for those regions. But the US, for example, where regulation is not that important, is still like seeing some positive growth, but for different reasons, like consumer behavior.
And is this new regulation in the EU really a game changer for the circular economy now?
So the PPWR is really important for the sector. I mean, keep in mind that packaging represents 40% of the materials that are used, so it's very important for the topic. And the PPWR, according to all market players, is very ambitious. For example, all packaging will have to be reusable or recyclable by 2030. There is a ban on single-use packaging, targets to reduce the amount of waste, and many companies basically in packaging space will benefit from that.
So Johan, in a nutshell, what are the 3 takeaways for investors interested in the investment theme of circular economy?
So circular economy is still a new theme with many years of growth ahead of us, and what's interesting is that it benefits from several growth drivers. Of course, you think about resource scarcity, pollution and climate change, but also economic independence, which makes it more resilient in a world where there is a lot of uncertainties. And PPWR is just one example of a very favorable regulation that will help like recycling equipment or paper packaging, aluminum packaging companies to grow above the market.
Very interesting. Johan, thank you for the discussion.
Thank you.